I'm going to show you how to rig up a fly reel from start to finish. You always want to start out with an arbor knot and some type of backing. I actually like using this braided ice fishing line a little bit better than some of the other brands. Not that this is a bad brand, and I've used it and they've both worked well. This stuff just claims to have low memory, and I like the darker colors on my backing because it doesn't translate into more colors in the water. To tie the arbor knot, all we have to do is just tie a very simple overhand knot and pull that one tight. So just simple little overhand knot, pull it down tight. You can see we got it all the way tight. And then from there, we're going to make a slip knot, essentially. So we're going to take that and pull it up and around through here. So we haven't done anything too tricky or anything. You can see the knots there. And then we're going to pull that right back through there. And that knot's what's actually going to lock into place your knot. So pull it up through that knot. And when I go to pull this down, what you'll find is that you can see the knot starting to go, and as I pull it tighter, that other little knot will back up to there, and now it can slide freely on there. So we'll pull it down tight and then just slide it right up over the reel, and we'll be done with that. Give that little tag in just to trim real quick. I've pulled my spool off. I'm just going to loop that over there, and you can see that all we need to do is pull it down tight. It should just slip nice and taut. I don't care if it ends up in the middle or the side of the reel, but that other little knot basically just keeps it locked into place. So I've got this brand new TFO rod that we're going to put on this reel here. And by the way, this reel came from Stone Creek Outfitters. There's something about unveiling a reel for the first time. This thing really is a really nice rod. I just got this in the mail. Bought it off the internet. I think there was a company that had a sale on them for about half off because they were clearing them out. But boy, is that really nice looking rod. It's got some plastic on the cork we'll have to take off. The reel seat's pretty solid too. The reason I pulled the rod out is that this is where a lot of people get their spool wrong. I like my line coming off. I reel with my left hand, fish with my right, and I like my line to come off of this side of the reel. And if you cast goofy handed, it's just not going to work real well without having to change hands. So you can obviously configure reels to go left hand, right hand, but this is the configuration that I like. So I pretty much set all my reels up just like this, and that way I don't have, you know, any major issues with just the config. Make sure though when you set it up that your reel, when you go to wind it, that's the direction that you normally like to wind. Because if you're winding it in a direction that you normally don't wind in, you're not going to be real happy. And so I want to show this to you down in here. I'm going to put quite a bit of backing on here. A lot of times I'll fill them up just to the point of the bottom of this circle to where I can barely see backing, unless I need more. But I mean, you can see that that's, you know, that's quite a bit of depth right there. Should have enough backing on that a large fish can, you know, take some line out. And this is 20 pound, by the way, so it should hold a 20-pound fish. I've never been taken to the backing on the small ponds and lakes and creek that we fish where this would be a problem, but I could see in some areas where it could be a major problem. Anyways, the reel seat went in real nice. You can see that there's a little notch there. plugged in well. This piece right here also had a notch, so when you tighten it up, that thing's just really locked in, nice and secure. It has a good balanced feel to it. So I don't have the tip attached, but without the tip, that's about how it feels. So anyways, we'll keep moving on. You need to make sure that when you're winding in your backing, that you've got something that you can put some tension on it with, or having somebody hold it for you, because you want that backing on nice and tight. What you don't want is to end up having loose little loops, and you don't want to put it on so tight that it's stretched either, but it should wind on there nice and freely, be semi-tight so it can't develop any loops, and then just fill that spool up. And as I'm winding, I like to kind of hand bring the line across the spool like that, just so it can kind of transfer evenly. You don't want to let it clump up in like one side. Okay, I've been winding that backing on for a few minutes now, and you can see, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it's just starting to show through the bottom of the rings on the spool. That's about how much backing I usually put on most of mine. I know a lot of people put a lot more to fill the color up and hold a bigger diameter for the line, but this is such a large reel, and I put a lot of line on there, probably, I don't know, more than 100 turns for sure. It's enough, I can tell you. But most reels, general rule of thumb, somewhere they'll give you enough room from the spool up to, I'm guessing, 1/4 inch, and it turns out to be quite a bit of line. You kind of have to make a judgment on that. I guess you could really determine a set amount. There's probably a formula somewhere, but that's what I like to do. So the line we're rigging up today happens to be the Sonar Stillwater clear emerger tip, aka sinking tip, floating line, also known as Midge tip. I bought this from Fly Fish Food. I went down to the store, told them I haven't really done their style of fishing with this line, so I'm gonna try to remedy that problem. This one's in test mode for me, but we'll get this put on the reel and kind of show you what it looks like. But it's got the clear intermediate camo tip, so that first, let's see if it says how many feet of it is sinking. Well, it's a 6-weight line, and I've got a 5 to 6 reel. This happens to be a 6-weight rod. It's weight forward, and then we'd probably have to Google that to be able to get the exact length on the tip, unless it's over here on the box somewhere. So we got the emerger tip here. Looks like they want us to do a little bit of origami to get our fly line off there. Nice little biodegradable spool. Now that I've got it off, I've taken the twist ties off. I'm actually going to put it back on the spool, but I wanted to take a peek at it, and you can see there's that clear tip down in there on the front end of the line. So I've got the line started. Made sure I can pull it off that spool. Now they give you this loop here, which isn't a bad thing, because we could just tie a double or triple surgeon's loop here. I've always been taught to tie an Albright knot, so it kind of goes almost against my religion to not do that. But I'm just going to take advantage of that loop that's there and pretend I'm doubling my fly line over anyways, and still end up tying the Albright knot. So to tie the Albright knot, we're just going to push our line up through there, and then we're going to take it and start wrapping it around here. We want to wrap it actually back towards the loop, so as you wrap it, it's probably easier to hold it this way. And I'm just going to keep wrapping it, and we'll get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 turns. We'll see how well this works with the loop. I could have just cut the loop off, but I don't know, they took the time to put it on there. We'll just let it ride. Okay, so once you've got enough turns on there, kind of all coiled up nice and neat, all we have to do is tuck this right back through that loop right there and pull it tight. Then we're going to work this little knot back up over there, and then we'll just really cinch it down once we get it into place. And that's not going anywhere. You can see I'm putting probably 10 or 15 pounds of pressure on that, and I'll just go ahead and pull on that just a little bit tighter too. So I'll trim that tag end and we'll go on to the next knot. I like to leave my Albright knots just a little bit long, and then I just tie a simple overhand knot on the end too. And you could take a lighter and melt that down, but I don't think there's any reason to trim it up close and risk the chance of it ever pulling back through. Alright, now we're back to winding. Just thought I'd show you that. I probably should have drilled a little hole in that table and dropped a little pencil or a bolt through, but try to keep the line, you know, nice and even all the way across that spool. So most of the way on, and you can kind of see I've got that little bit of black and orange showing up on that spool. That's going to look really good. And I'm just trying to maintain some tension between my fingers, just like I do when I'm out fishing. Not too tight, but just putting it on the spool nice and even. I wanted to show you this color transition on the line. We're going to have to go look this up and see what the spec says, if this color transition is doing anything different with the line. It might be right when it gets to that weight forward segment. So if you look on the box, it has a floating, and then it has that taper. So they must, I think that's where they probably put a little bit of tungsten in the line to weight it a little bit more than the rest of it. Alright, so we're hitting that final transition of the line where you can see the green is going to start to turn to clear. Wow, isn't that nice? So it's got a intermediate sinking, super slow sinking tip. This line, even though it's a full sink, it's a slow sink, so I think it sinks at 1.25 inches a second. So the idea is you can cast this line out. This is going to sink really slow, somewhere back in the green area, right? It's going to kind of curve down into the water, and then the orange will be floating. So I'm pretty excited with that combo. It's going to keep that line a little bit camouflaged from the fish, and should allow us to put some midges down in the water without a bobber. And you can see they provided us with another clear tip here, so that's kind of nice. I may leave that on. I'm not sure if we're going to cut that off, but essentially that is backing to fly line on the reel.